Hello and welcome to the Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friend. If you've been looking for a podcast geared towards your growth, self-awareness, navigating your brain's daily mind drama, and deep inner work to become your highest and best self, you are in the perfect place. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. How are you guys? It has been a hot minute. I didn't release an episode last Monday because I was in California and I had every intention of pre-recording one, but if you travel a lot, or maybe not even a lot at all, you probably know how it feels leading up to leaving for a trip. It's like there's a million things to do and you're trying to decide what things are priority, what things do I do first, how am I going to get this all done. I think I packed until like 1:30 a.m. because we had to leave the house by like 6 a.m. and everything that I had planned to get done did not get done, including cleaning my house, because at the time I was going to be hosting Christmas. I talked to you guys about that. Well, I didn't end up hosting Christmas for our entire family because we had a family emergency where one of my relatives got hurt. And then we had like 3 family members that had like the flu and upper respiratory infection. And when it was all said and done, I think there was like an RSVP of like 2 people 4 days before it was going to occur. And I was like, that's a lot of time and like all the food that we still would need to buy. So we skipped Christmas. So needless to say, it did not feel like Christmas this year because we didn't celebrate as a family. And my husband and I were actually, we were in California for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, or actually we were in Las Vegas technically for Christmas Day because we were flying back home. But it was warm there, and I think it was actually warm in Kentucky too, so that's not really the reason that it didn't feel like Christmas. But normally I am always with my family on Christmas Eve. That's been our tradition when my Oma and Opa were alive for 40 years. And in that 40 years or so, we as a family only missed one Christmas, and it was because there was so much family drama. My Oma and Opa were like, I cannot deal with everybody fighting and not getting along. Like, it was a horrible year. But other than that, we had always gotten together for Christmas Eve. And so my husband asked me, he was like, have you ever missed a Christmas Eve? And I was like, one in my entire 28 years outside of today. So that makes 2 Christmases that we have not celebrated since I've been alive, 28 years. So it was interesting. It didn't feel like Christmas this year. So next year, I'm probably going to go all out. I will be asking for the Christmas tree to go up November 1st because I need to make up for this year. I love Christmas. I love everything about it. So I am kind of sad that we didn't get to celebrate that traditionally. I was really looking forward to it, but it's okay. This is a part of life, and sometimes you just have to move on, right? That's what we're learning in this podcast too, is how to not take everything personal and how not to get stuck when life doesn't turn out the way that you planned. That's really important. Another little quick thing that I wanted to share with you guys that I think is pretty important. I shared it with my Facebook friends, but I realized that not everybody is on my Facebook. That night before we left for the airport, I needed a new pair of shoes. I don't have a lot of tennis shoes, and the ones that I do have looked a hot mess. And I was having mind drama about being in Los Angeles with ranky-dank shoes. So I told my husband, I was like, I need to run to TJ Maxx really quick and just get a pair of comfortable, clean shoes that I don't wear as a pediatric occupational therapist that have God knows what on them. So I went to TJ Maxx and picked out my shoes, and I got to the counter and I was talking to the girl at the counter because she had beautiful lashes. I was like, oh my God. I used to get individual lash extensions done, and then I developed the allergy to the stupid cyanoacrylate in the glue. And I wear like a different type of lash extension now. But anyways, long story short, her lashes were gorgeous. And I was like, who is your lash tech? Those are absolutely stunning. I need to know. Like, they look so natural, so pretty, so wispy. And so we got to talking, and, she rang me up. I got my receipt, and I walked out of TJ Maxx. And as I was walking out of TJ Maxx, I kind of thought, my total didn't sound as expensive as it should have been. I bought shoes, but I had also bought like a sweater and one other thing. And I was just like, it doesn't really sound right. So I pulled out my receipt and was walking to my car, and I realized that in the midst of us talking and me asking her about her lashes, that she didn't ring me up for the brand new shoes. And this is something that I really wanted to share with my Facebook followers at the time and my Instagram followers as well, just in some stories. But I got to my car, and I actually did have to think about it, even though immediately I felt like in my gut that wasn't right. And I got in my car, and I was like, she doesn't even know that she didn't ring me up for the shoes. And I got to thinking, and I'm like, you know what? A lot of people would probably leave right now and say, oh my gosh, her loss, her mistake. Oh well, I'm going to go ahead and leave. I got a free pair of shoes. Yay me. And as I was sitting in my car, I'm just like, I won't be able to sleep tonight. I cannot. That is not something that I can do. Absolutely not. So I sat in my car for a good 30 seconds debating it, if I'm being 100% honest, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that those shoes were free. But then at the same time, I'm like, no, you were talking to her and she accidentally missed ringing them up. That is not ethical. It is not an integrity. No, it is not. So I got out of my car, walked back in there, and let her know, hey, you forgot to ring me up for my shoes. They're not on my receipt. And she was like, oh my gosh. She goes, that could have got me in so much trouble. And I was like, no, go ahead and ring them up. I want to pay for them. So the whole point of that being, my message to my followers that follow me on Instagram and Facebook, is that you will be tested in your life to see if you're in integrity. And who I desire to be and who I believe that I am is someone that is very truthful and honest and vulnerable and authentic. Now, those are big words to have for yourself, right? Being I'm truthful, I don't lie, I make sure that I'm in integrity. That is really important to me as a life coach, especially, but as a human being, those things are very important to me. They're not going to be important to everybody in the world, right? But they're important to me. That's who I want to be. I want to be truthful. I want to be transparent. I want to be authentic. I want people to know that when they are interacting in my energy, that I am someone that is honest. And when you declare who you're going to be to the world, to the universe, to God, whoever, you will be presented with tests of the universe saying, prove it, prove that you're in integrity. And when I got in my car and had realized that I wasn't charged for the shoes, I could feel a little piece of my old self wanting to say, just drive off. Nobody would ever know, right? I think that's a human thing. Oh my God, they're free. Yay, I don't have to pay for these. But at the same time, it's I knew logically what had happened. Logically, in our interaction, she was distracted and, took the tag off the shoes, took the little thing that would have alerted the security doors and whatever. She took that off. And so she thought that she had scanned it in addition to taking that off, and she didn't. And the thing about it is that I knew that in my gut, right? I knew that it was an error. I knew that it was a mistake. It wasn't like she was like, oh gosh, these shoes rung up for less. That would have been different, right? If it would have been something on the store where they're like, oh, hey, these shoes are supposed to be $40 or whatever they were, and they're only ringing up for $12. That would have been okay. I wouldn't have argued with that. But to know it was an error where she made a mistake, it's moments like that where the universe says, Macy, right? Or whoever you are, Are you going to be in integrity with who you say you are? You say that you're honest. You say that you're truthful. You say that you're transparent. You say that you're authentic. But if you don't return those shoes knowing good and well that it was a mistake and an error, you're not being those things. So you're actually not being in integrity and operating your life that way. So you can say, I'm not a liar, all that you want. But if you know that something's wrong and you don't do the right thing, you are lying, which means you're what? A liar. So for me, it was really important in that moment that it happened to get on my social media and just say, hey, I know that this would be so tempting. Trust me, I'm human. It was tempting to me for 30 seconds. I really did think about driving away. But in integrity, in who I desire to be, in who my highest self is, I want to be honest. And I want to be truthful and vulnerable and authentic and transparent and all of those things. And in addition, the way that you respond to something, right? Because we're energy. I've talked about this before, but we're all made up of energy. So you don't attract what you want in life, you attract who you are. And I want to attract people in my business that are honest, right? If I make an error. So if I'm supposed to give them an invoice for X amount and it's not right, I want to attract the people and the clients that have enough integrity and truthfulness and honesty to say, hey, this was supposed to be this. You know, even if that means that they're going to be charged a few dollars more. Like, that's who I want to attract. I want to attract in my life people that are honest and full of integrity. So in order to attract that, I have to be that. Even in a tricky moment where it could be something as simple as someone forgetting to ring up a pair of shoes. It all counts. It's all important. And one of the questions that I ask myself all the time is, are you being 110% truthful or are you being a liar? And if there's even a smidge of you're being a liar, I don't want to be that person at all. Like that. But I want to also let you know that that is something I've had to work on, because I think I've talked about this in a previous episode, but when you tell the truth, the reason that it's so incredibly hard for people to tell the truth is because in the moment that you're telling the truth to someone, it could be the store clerk, right? It could be your best friend, your mom, your in-laws, your grandparents, your uncle, your cousin, whoever, right? Your significant other. When you decide that you're going to tell the truth, the reason that a lot of times that feels so icky and so scary is because you are setting yourself up into a position of vulnerability, into a position where that other person may pass judgment or may have a response that you know you're not going to like when you're truthful. And the fear of how someone else is going to respond a lot of times is what will keep someone from telling the truth. It's just like a child, like whenever they've done something wrong and the adult knows, right? Because kids are so funny, like, you know when they're lying a lot of times. And they feel the need to lie to protect themselves from being uncomfortable. That is why a kid lies. If they stole a cookie out of the cookie jar, they know that there's a consequence, right, for taking that cookie. So if they get caught doing so, what their mind will tell them is lie. Lie, because then you're not going to feel uncomfortable. Like, you don't know how mom's going to react to you stealing that cookie from the cookie jar, or dad's going to react, or your caregiver, or whatever. And so their little brain is like, just lie about it and see if we can get away with the feeling of being uncomfortable. Now, for a lot of children, though, you know, parents know, you know that they took the cookie from the cookie jar. You saw them, or you know how many cookies are in there, whatever it is, or they've got chocolate smeared all over their face. And how many times have you had that experience where a kid literally has like chocolate or something, like the evidence is all over their face, and they will still look you dead in the eyes and lie? I work with kids as a pediatric occupational therapist, in addition to my life coaching business. I only work 3 days a week as an OT. But it's so funny because kids will lie over the silliest things. Like, truly will be like, no, I didn't eat the chocolate, but the chocolate is all over their face. And it's always so interesting to me to see and to understand, why are they lying? And what it comes down to is the discomfort of being honest. They don't know how I'm going to respond if they tell the truth. For some kids, that could be disciplined in the form of physical spanking. For some kids, it could be verbal, raising your voice. I know whenever I was a kid, I did not like when people screamed or yelled. And I grew up in a family where that was the case. If you were in trouble, you did get a spanking. Like if you lied, especially, you got a spanking. But if you got in trouble, they would raise their voice. And that always was a trigger for me as a kid. I hated when people would raise their voice. So even teachers in school, when they would raise their voice, I would immediately shut down. That I really believe that that's what contributed to me being such a teacher's pet and goody two-shoe, and always wanting to please, because I was constantly trying to avoid someone getting mad and screaming. It just really bothered me when people scream. It still to this day does. If I'm in an environment where people start screaming, or if my husband is upset and his tone even changes, I can feel my inner child coming out of just fear of not wanting people to scream. And my family, when mad, was definitely, they were screamers. So it's funny because I can see even working with kids, the different things that trigger them from telling the truth. And it ultimately comes down to, how uncomfortable is it going to feel to be vulnerable and to tell the truth? Is there something I'm trying to avoid? Maybe I'm trying to avoid mom screaming at me or dad screaming at me, or I'm trying to avoid a spanking, or I'm trying to avoid whatever the discomfort is, the punishment, right? The unknown of what's going to happen. Am I going to be stuck in a corner? Am I going to be put in timeout? All of those things are very uncomfortable for me, so I'm not going to tell the truth. And that's the whole reason why we become conditioned to lie. So it starts in childhood, right? And however your parents do respond, maybe they say, oh, okay, you didn't take the cookie out of the cookie jar. That's not what your face says. Depending on how they respond and how that child processes what happens is going to direct kind of how they feel about telling the truth. If they don't get in trouble for lying, then that reaffirms to them that lying is the better way. Versus if they lie and then they get into more trouble for lying because the parent is trying to teach them you don't lie, then they're going to be sometimes more apt to tell the truth. So you're always looking in life for what is worse, and then you do the opposite. What's going to be the worst thing? Is it going to feel worse to lie, or is it going to feel worse to be screamed at or disowned or lose a friendship or, lose my significant other because of what I'm about to tell them or whatever? And in our brain, what we do is try and figure out which one's going to feel worse. And whichever one is going to feel worse, we do the opposite. We do the one that is going to make us less uncomfortable. For a lot of people, that is deciding that they're going to lie. Because if the person that they're lying to isn't someone that's going to pick up on it, they feel like they have, gotten past something that was going to be very vulnerable for them. So this is where lying comes from, and a lot of people say, well, I'm not a liar. I'm not a liar. And they don't want to accept that as a part of their personality. And I understand why, because being a liar is not a fun thing. I personally like when people are being very raw and truthful and honest. I hate when people lie. I think that is probably the number one pet peeve of mine, is when people lie. So if I would have driven away with those shoes in that moment, I would have been a liar, because I knew better. I knew better. And making the choice to drive away when you know better is being a liar. As much as you don't want to admit it, right? It would have been being a liar, and I don't want to be a liar. So I went to my Facebook to just share a little bit about that, my Instagram, because I want you to really think about going into 2020. I want you to think about who you desire to be. And when you're presented with those obstacles that would make you slip back into who you've always been, remember who you desired to be, because there will be tests. When you say, I'm going to be strong, that is when the weight of the world is probably going to come crashing down, because it's the universe saying, prove it. Prove that what you said you were going to do is what you're going to do. Can you handle this test? And boom, 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 boom. All of these things are happening. Are you going to be that person you said you were going to be when it was easy? When it was easy and nothing had gone wrong, you said you were going to be the strong person. And then everything started happening, and it would be very easy for your brain to resort back to that comfort zone and not be the strong one, right? Like maybe have a huge mental breakdown and retreat and go crawl into a cave and decide that you're not going to deal with it. But is that what you've always done? So the same thing, it's like if I was going into 2020 and I said, I am no longer going to be a liar, right? I'm no longer going to lie. And then I go to the store and they forget to ring up the shoes. And I know when I get to my car that the shoes are not on there. It would be very easy for my brain to say, well, nobody's ever going to know. It's not like she knew. It's not like the store knew. So you can totally just go and be a liar, right? So it's like the universe, again, prove it. Prove it. You said you were no longer going to lie. You said you were in integrity. You said you're authentic. You said you're transparent. You said you're truthful. You said you do the right thing. Here's your test. Here's some free shoes that this lady forgot to ring up. Are you those things? And you get to decide. And that is the difference. That's what creates the shifts and change to become the best version of yourself. When you say you want something, I promise you 110% that shit is going to hit the fan. Trust me, it's been 5.5 years of going through it. The hardest thing ever. Every single time I said I was done with this, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be this person. It's like, here comes the storm. I see it all the time, even in my clients. I'm going to invest in this program. And then the car breaks down, the refrigerator stops working, the washing machine breaks, and they're like, oh, I have 3 other things that just went wrong. I don't think I'm going to be able to invest in myself to grow as a person. And at this point, I just giggle because I'm like, of course, like it's the universe asking you to prove it. Who you said you were going to be was somebody that was going to overcome obstacles, invest in yourself, and grow as a person. But what you were presented was 3 obstacles to keep you as the same person that you've always been. And do you stay that same person you've always been, or do you rise above it and become who you said you were going to be when it was easy to say it before shit hit the fan? That's a big difference. I can't tell you how many moments I've had like that where I'm getting ready to invest in a coach and it could be a couple $1,000s I'm getting ready to send their way. And I swear to you, it's like, oh my God, my account will be drained because 2 unexpected things come out. Or something happens where I have to like wire money to like someone, $500 here and $600 here. And I'm like, oh my God, I was just about to pay for this coaching program. Why? I wanted to do this coaching program. And in that moment, it's about me deciding, am I going to overcome the obstacle? The universe is giving me that prove it moment to show up as who I said I was going to be and follow integrity. I committed to the coaching program and then everything went wrong. So am I going to be who I've always been, or am I going to figure another way out? And I think that is what is very hard for people, is they don't always allow their brain to figure out obstacles. They see the obstacles and they shut down. They know that they're going to be uncomfortable if they try to get what they want, and they shut down because your brain is always, always, always in a state of protection. It doesn't want you to feel uncomfortable. The moment that your mind or body are going to feel uncomfortable, it's going to take you away from that action. And usually that action is what's getting you out of your comfort zone and getting you to the next level. And if it feels uncomfortable, your mind might say, okay, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to be a different person. I'm ready to step into who I desire to be. I'm ready to be my highest self. But then your body will have this reaction of, oh no, that's not going to feel good. We're going to have anxiety. You might go into depression. This is not going to be good. And when your brain starts to send those signals and your body starts to feel uncomfortable, you'll go back to who you've always been. This is how people stay in the same place and stay who they are forever, because their brain and their body become conditioned to that comfort zone. So anything that would get them out of that comfort zone becomes too much. Like their body just communicates with their brain that that's going to send them over the edge. We're going to have anxiety. We're going to die. Absolutely not. You should just lounge on the couch and watch Netflix. That's where we feel safest. Don't do anything else. Don't grow. Don't change. Don't evolve. Take the pair of shoes like it's going to be uncomfortable to be truthful, whatever it is. And when we do that, we are surrendering to who we committed to being, that higher level self that's going to get us to everything that we desire and what we want. So I hope that this episode helps you with thinking about who you say that you are. Like, do you feel like you're truthful, honest, loving, transparent, strong? All of the good words, right? Like all of the things that you believe that you are. And when you say that maybe you're going to improve upon something, this personality trait that you have, like I'm going to be more honest going into 2020. I'm going to speak my truth in 2020. Know that you're going to be presented with obstacles that are going to be so uncomfortable that it would be easier for you to just not do that. And don't feel like it's the universe against you. It's the universe saying, prove it. I'm going to give you these obstacles to see if you're in integrity with who you desired to be when it was easy to say it in the moment. So if you said you were going to be more honest and speak your truth in 2020, are you actually going to do that? Really think about who you want to be, because we're entering a whole new year, right? A whole new decade. So exciting. You can be and do whatever you want. If there is something that you desire and you're not there yet, work on your mindset. Work on giving yourself what you need. Give yourself more self-care. Do the inner work. Do the work to tap into your subconscious and say, what is keeping me from having everything that I desire? It's little beliefs. It's little decisions. You can change everything about your life. You can be a different person, the person that you actually want to be. For me, I was trapped in this people-pleasing, not wanting to rock the boat mentality where I was living my life to please other people, right? I didn't want to feel the discomfort of someone being unhappy with me, someone raising their voice at me, someone being unhappy with the choices that I was making for myself. Anything that I wanted to do, a lot of times I would put on the back burner, and anything that I wanted to be because I was afraid of people's judgment, and I wanted to be loved and liked, and I wanted to please everyone. And the only reason that I wanted to do all of those things was because not doing so made me extremely uncomfortable, and I didn't know how to sit with myself in that discomfort and do what I want anyways. I really didn't. Before life coaching, I just felt like this is going to be my life. I'm going to people please my entire life. I'm going to have a hard time stepping into who I am, speaking my truth, being authentic and vulnerable and transparent, because if I am, it's going to make so many people uncomfortable. I mean, think about like even with this podcast, how hard it was for me to share bits and pieces of my story because of the fear of, is this going to trigger my mom? Is this going to make her upset? Is this going to bring back memories for her that's uncomfortable that maybe she hasn't worked through? That is people pleasing. It is being considerate of her feelings, but it's also people pleasing of not wanting anybody else to feel uncomfortable, even though I'm sharing my story, right? Not all of her story, my story. So you have to decide who you want to be and what is keeping you from being that person. And a lot of times it's fear. It's fear of the unknown. It's the fear of knowing that you're going to go through some discomfort. It's the fear of changing because you don't have a clear map as to where you'll go when you're becoming that person. If you did, you would already be doing it, right? If you knew all the obstacles that you were going to face, you would either do it or not do it, because your brain would tell you, if you do this, this is what you're going to run into. So do you want to do it or do you not? We don't have that ability. But what is also so powerful about that is when we don't have the ability to predict what's going to happen, we're living in this realm of what is possible. And when you're living in this realm of what is possible, it means that you have the ability to create whatever you want. Will you have obstacles along the way? Yes, absolutely. But what is also really awesome about that is you can create whatever you want for yourself. So I hope that this episode helps you. I hope that you all have an amazing New Year's Eve and that you have an awesome new year. And before I hop off here, I want to remind you that the Becoming Her Mastermind, my newest program that is launching in January, is open for enrollment, and you can enroll at any time. So unlike my other programs where I give you 2 to 3 weeks to enroll and we have a start date, Becoming Her Mastermind is open all the time. So whenever you're ready, if you desire coaching for a lifetime, if you desire to learn everything that I know and have been taught over the course of 5.5 years of personal development, 3.5 years of life coaching, literally everything I know, I'm giving it all away. Every single thing that I have learned in my journey, I am sharing with the women who join Becoming Her Mastermind. Every single week, we will have a coaching topic that I will coach on Zoom or Facebook Live. You have the ability to ask as many questions as you want, be coached as much as you want in that group. When I launch programs, the women who have invested in Becoming Her Mastermind will never have to pay an extra penny. When you are in that mastermind, when you make that investment, you have access to my content for life, for a lifetime. So every new program that I launch, every current program that I have to offer that I launch, you get access to all of that for no additional pennies. Like this 2020 for me is going to be the year of being triggered, because I'm going to give every single thing I know away to help you step into who you want to be. 2020 for me is all about me becoming her, and that means the version of myself that is going further than I ever thought that I could go, and doing things that absolutely scare me, and helping my clients along the way. So my goal for the Becoming Her Mastermind is to have hundreds, eventually thousands of women in there who are all uplifting and empowering one another, where I'm coaching them on every single thing that I've been taught in a 5.5 year span through books, podcasts, coaching, all of the things, and them also getting to witness me growing into my next level, so that inspires them into whoever they want to be at their next level. So not only am I going to be coaching everything that I know up until this point and beyond to them to help them become her, whoever that is, for themselves, but they also get to witness a lot of vulnerability, honest truth in me. You know, they're going to see me fail a whole lot. They're going to see how I overcome failure. They're going to see what I do when something doesn't work. And they're going to learn so much, because I'm going to show up real, raw, vulnerable, transparent, all of the things that mean a lot to me, that integrity, that truthfulness, when I feel embarrassed, when I feel like I've hit my face against concrete. They're going to see it. They're going to witness it. And all the while, I'm going to be helping them through those moments for themselves, because as they are learning the things that I have already learned, they're probably going to have some of those same experience where it feels hard. It feels scary. It feels like, oh my God, how will I ever get through this? I can remember thinking that as I was going through my own journey. So I'm excited to hold space for the women that get in there so that they can become their highest self, really becoming her. And I'm also excited for them to see a version of me that isn't perfect or knows everything, right? Like when I'm trying to get to my next level, it is going to be a lot of trial and error, a lot of, okay, well, that didn't work. Oh my God, I'm very embarrassed. I feel so stupid about this. And them seeing that. And I think that that's going to help them grow even faster, because they're going to know what not to do. They're going to see me fall on my face without me trying to have this persona that everything is working out 100% awesome. I'm going to be very honest and transparent about that. So I'm excited to just pour out everything that I know in the Becoming Her Mastermind. And if you have had this desire to work with me, I will still be launching individual programs. So Inner Mastery, which is my signature 12-week program, that will launch probably twice in 2020, looking at like mid to late February for the next round of Inner Mastery. Women absolutely love that. We did 3 rounds in 2019. I actually am having the second week of January an Inner Mastery vision board party. I'm so excited about that. So all the women that worked with me in Inner Mastery are going to be coming to my home, and we're going to have cocktails and fancy foods, and we're going to visualize what we want for 2020. We're going to make dream boards. I'm so excited for that. So that program will launch in February, and it'll launch again probably later in the summer. I'm going to have a money program that's going to be releasing in 2020, manifestation and energy program that's going to be launching in 2020. You can work with me one-on-one if you don't desire the group programs, but then at the end of the day, Becoming Her is going to be that mastermind that I'm focusing on building literally from the ground up. And when you're in that mastermind, you get all of my programs for no additional cost. So you make that one-time investment in the Becoming Her mastermind. And whatever I create from 2020 and beyond, you never, ever, 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 ever pay another penny for that. So you can be in every round of Inner Mastery if you want for no additional cost. You can be in the money program as many times as you want for no additional cost. You can be in the manifestation program as many times as you want. My Rewired Mindset program you can be in as many times as you want. Then you're getting weekly coaching through Zoom and Facebook Live. You have the ability to ask and post questions in that group. And eventually what it will be is I will be creating a portfolio of all of the content that I'm teaching in the Becoming Her Mastermind, and it'll be organized in a special login for each and every woman where they can go in and say, okay, I want to focus on mindset. Here's 10 modules on mindset. Okay, I want to focus on money. Here are 20 modules on money, right? So this is something I'm building from the ground up, and it's super, super exciting. And that's another thing, like the women that are in Becoming Her are going to be able to witness this program growing and evolving. Right now I have a woman that joined the second that I announced it on Facebook, and I told her, I was very vulnerable, and I'm like, you might be the only one in Becoming Her mastermind for a while. You're going to get to see the failures and the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows. You're going to get to see it evolve into what it becomes. You're going to be there for all of the content because you're already in the group. So the first week of me coaching, like you get to be there for all of it. And I think that a lot of the women appreciate that they're going to get to see how a program evolves and what works, what doesn't work, how I'm going to build it, how I'm being honest and vulnerable about what I'm feeling in the process, because some of the people that work with me also decide that they want to become an entrepreneur of some sort of business, or that they want to be a coach of maybe something else, right? And they have no idea where to start, and they're all in their mind drama. And so this is another way for them to see not only me and my truth, but building something from the ground up. And so there's just so much value in becoming her because they get access to me for a lifetime after that investment, and they never ever have to worry about paying an additional cost. But if that's not something that you want, like if you don't want to be in the Becoming Her Mastermind and have access to me and my content for a lifetime, then you can also do the programs just when they launch. So when Inner Mastery launches mid-February, you can decide, okay, I'm going to be in Inner Mastery, and then that could be your one and done, right? Or maybe you want to be in the money program, and that could be your one and done. Doing Becoming Her gives you access to everything for life, all the content, all the replays, all of the modules that will be coming as I'm building this program. So it's pretty exciting, and I cannot wait. It took me like 3 weeks before I even stopped having anxiety about it. Every time I would think about becoming her mastermind, I'd get so much anxiety. I was just like, I just want to run away and crawl in a cave and hide and, tell all of my clients, I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. And this is what it is, right? This is life. When you are getting to the next level, when you are in that realm of possibility, like I was saying, and you don't have a clear roadmap, your brain will try to abort the mission. And the moment my client signed up for Becoming Her and sent her payment in, I was like, oh my God, I've got to show up. I have a client. This is so uncomfortable. And I told her that. I'm like, you made me so uncomfortable. Thank you for believing in me and being so excited about becoming her mastermind. But holy shit, I'm so afraid. I'm so scared because I can't be the same Macy that I am right now. Like the Macy that comes out of me in 2020 is truly my highest self, doing things I never thought I'd be doing, coaching every single week. Right now my brain is like, well, what if you get tired? What if you don't feel like it that week? What if, this? What if that? And that's the stuff. Those are the little limiting beliefs that will keep you where you're at forever. And I know this because there's been so many times this year I've self-sabotaged myself. I've said, get on Facebook Live every few days. And then I don't do it because I'm like, oh, that feels scary. I don't want to do that. And it's like, if you would just do the things that make you uncomfortable, you would be creating the life that you desire much faster. So we self-sabotage all the time. And it's so funny because I can coach women through their own self-sabotage all day long. I can witness it in myself, but in becoming her, I have to overcome it because I now have to show up for my paying clients, right? And I think in my mind, I thought nobody's going to sign up for becoming her mastermind, so it'll be all good. I'll just launch it, and then when nobody signs up, I'll be able to run away and pretend that never happened, and I'll try again in 2022. That's like what my brain told me. So it's kind of funny because I told my client, I said that when I announced it on Facebook and you signed up within 30 minutes and sent your PayPal payment, it told me, hey, Macy, you're going to have to show up. You don't get to be the same Macy that you wanted to be. It didn't fail. Someone signed up for it. And even if she's the only client for however long, I have to show up differently than I expected, right? I have to show up differently and grow and evolve because I'm going to be teaching her everything. And so I do believe that it'll grow one by one by one by one by one by one. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for her to be able to witness that and take whatever she learns from that, in addition to everything I'm going to be teaching her. I'm just excited for it. I finally got past that heart-wrenching anxiety. I had to take so much CBD oil to get me through those first 3 weeks of announcing this program because I was just not okay. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. So anyways, I hope that you all celebrate 2020 coming in. Make dream boards. If you don't know what that is, that means cutting out pictures. If you're a Pinterest person or there are things that you desire, a new car or maybe moving, traveling someplace, wherever it is, be very specific about what it is you desire. Cut it out, Google the pictures, Pinterest the pictures, and put it on a board that you can see. It may sound corny and cheesy. It works. I'm telling you. I will teach you more about this in a future episode, but trust me when I say get very clear on what you want and we're going to be talking in 2020, which is going to be season 2 of this podcast. We're going to be talking about why it's so hard to keep and create new habits, right? Because a lot of you are probably saying, I'm going to go work out at the gym. I'm going to join Pilates. I'm going to go at least 3 times a week. And it feels very easy right now. And it's not going to feel so easy 3 weeks into the year. So we're going to be talking about a lot of that in season 2 of Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. So I'm so excited. Have the best time. If you're going to be drinking, have a designated driver. Do not drive after Uber, Lyft, something. Have the best time and think about what you want for 2020. It can be whatever you want it to be. You have everything in you already to create it. I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me with this podcast the last few months. It was one of the scariest things I ever did at the time. Now it's a breeze. So this is another thing I can teach people who want to do a podcast. But I love you all, and I hope that you have the best 2020 ever. See you next season.